Hello, members of the Grateful Migrant Collaborative Community and the general public. Today, I want to show you another case of migrant successful, where an extraordinary person tells us how he converted the challenge of starting from scratch, making his way in a new place as an opportunity for self-improvement. Wishing blessings for you and your home, I welcome you. My name is Blake Turner. In this opportunity, we will talk about the Saskatchewan Provincial Nominee Program, SPNP, with updated information to date by our West towards the members to the collaborative community Grateful Migrant and community that recognize help and guidance to others as an instrument to pray and thanks to the blessings from for some of Whole Trinity, Virgin Maria, and Nature, whom we thank you for allowing each of us to live this moment together. It's a pleasure for me present a Jeric Mendoza from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, a success story for a grateful migrant, registered migration consultant with the Immigration Consultant of Canada Regulatory Council, ICCRC, a Canadian government entity that regulates and authorizes the practice of counseling of immigration topics. Jeric, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Welcome.
How are you, Blake? Thank you very much for inviting me to your show. And thank you for the viewers for watching this.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us. How do you identify with the Grateful Migrant Collaborative Community?
Right, Blake, your community has a very special name. It's Thankful Migrant. And basically, it tells something about the community right away. So just like probably all of your members, I am also an immigrant here in Canada. So my family belongs to the first generation of immigrant. We arrived here in Canada or here in Saskatchewan about 11 years ago. Actually, this month would be our 11th year. So it's not a short time as well, but it's not also a long time. But our part of there was a time that the government of Saskatchewan went to the Philippines and brought employers here in Saskatchewan to find foreign workers in the Philippines. So I was lucky to be part of that process. During that time, I wasn't actively looking to go to Canada, but based on the account of my employer at the time, they were told by the recruiter in the Philippines that well, basically, the employer was a bit frustrated with the applicants that they have met so far. So I was told that the daughter of the recruitment company knows me and told the employer to try to interview me. So I got that call from that recruitment company. I didn't apply for the position. I wasn't even planning to go to Canada. I got the call and I said yes, and I tried. I went to the interview. I thought I aced the interview, so the employer offered me a job offer in the sales department. My background is mostly on sales and marketing. So and the rest is history. So during that time, I never had the plan to go to Canada. But when I received that call and when I got the job offer, I thought it was destiny talking to me. So that's why I'm here, and the rest is history. So that's it. But the second thing about the thankful migrant community is really your value of being thankful. Okay, Blake, I have well that value strikes to my core because I have three main values in dealing with people. To me, what's important would be loyalty, generosity, and gratefulness or being thankful. And what is common between loyalty, generosity, and being thankful is that number one, you don't have to do it, right? You don't have to be thankful, but you're still doing it. You don't have to be generous, but you're still doing it. You don't need to be loyal, but you're still doing it. So a part of those values really what is common with those values is that you are selfless by doing so. You don't think about yourself, right? Because basically you have the option not to be thankful, right? You have the option not to be loyal. You have the option not to be generous, but you're still doing it. That's why when you contacted me for this interview, I can easily relate with this community. And you know what? There are many things to be thankful about Canada. And I've got two things to share to you why I'm really that thankful to Canada. On one hand, we went here on a job offer. So basically, we're not running away from something. We're just moving from a job right now to a better job offer. So it's purely economic reason, right? So you would think, at the end of the day, why you should be thankful because they need me to, right? But no, it changes your life. Whenever you see, like, for example, videos being shared, like racist videos, right? And you see the comments of Canadians here defending immigrants like us, right? You feel really thankful for that because those Canadians, they have the option to be quiet, right? But they defend us. There are still 10, 15% who would be racist on those comments. But if you look at those comments, if you look at those videos who are racist, which shows people who are racist to immigrants like us, there are lots of people really defending immigrants. So how can you not be thankful for that as an immigrant? And number two is I'd like to share to you, I think this is the first time I really felt we belong here in Canada. When we had a short visit in the US, we went back, of course, here in Canada, and what the border officer at that time told us really, uh, uh, I couldn't forget what that officer said. This officer said, she looked into my passport and she basically said, "Welcome home." So that's the time, I feel that I belong. I feel that I'm home here in Canada. So why won't you be thankful of that experience too? So that's the reason why your organization, I feel close to your organization because it really defines what we feel right now as thankful migrants here in Canada. So.
Excellent. It's a very, very nice history and excellent blessings for you and all your experience, Jeric. And thank you very much for staying with us and explain your history. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, Jeric, from your profession and our experience, what should a migrant investigate about the immigration system from the place of depot and the place of arrival?
Okay. Right. So based on your question, Blake, you're interested to know what immigrants will need to do while they're outside Canada and what immigrants need to do while inside Canada. Okay. Well, for those who are not yet in Canada, the first thing that they really need to know is whether they want to go to Canada or not. Okay, because it's not an easy process to immigrate. It's not small decision. There are lots of options. Canada is not the only country that accepts immigrants too, right? But I think at the end of the day is whether this is a life-changing decision for you. So you really have to think, do you want to be in Canada? You should be in Canada for a reason. You need to be clear about the reason why you're going to Canada. Because if you're not clear, then your expectations may not be the same with what you want to see here. So that's number one. So in our case, like when we were not here in Canada, really the first question, again, I told you in our stories that we didn't plan to go to Canada. But we had, all of a sudden, we received a call of an opportunity to go to Canada. To us, really the reason is it might be God talking to us. It might be destiny. So we really just rolled with it because at the end of the day, we're going to Canada with a job offer, and we feel that we can survive here. We can survive anywhere too. So that's number one. So you have to be very clear whether you want to Canada or not, go to Canada or not. Number two is you need to be clear as well whether what will happen to you when you get into Canada. So you don't need to wait to get here in Canada to know what kind of cost of, say, for example, cost of living here in Canada. So before we went to Canada at the time in 2009, I did my own research. I searched, of course, how much jobs are being paid, the wage per hour. I researched about the cost of living in Saskatoon. I researched about the company I'm joining. So basically, I also have my own spreadsheet. Like, okay, if this is the cost of living, okay, yes, we can survive with this one. So do your homework, right? Don't go here and later on complain that you don't have money to spend. Help me or whatever. Do your homework. Okay. And the good thing about right now is YouTube. You can search a lot of materials in YouTube to know how is it to live in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, or how is it to live in Calgary, Alberta. Have a look at those videos. So basically, do your homework. Okay. Now, once you're here in Canada, the most important thing is you need to settle first. You need to understand, for example, that the job market might be entirely different with the job market in your home country. So what do you mean like by this? For example, barbers, okay, are regulated, for example, here in Saskatchewan. In the Philippines, it's not regulated. You open a shop, you cut the hair, you're done. But here, you need to have a license. So you can't go here and then find out later you can't do this because you need the license. So at the end of the day, you should be ready that there would be different things that you need to do here. Maybe you're an engineer right now, but are you expecting to be an engineer right away? It's not wrong to aim to be an engineer as soon as you can, but you need to understand that you have to go through a certain process. Okay, I'd like to share to you. I have a client. He was a lawyer in one of the countries in South America. He went here in Canada as the spouse of an international student. So his spouse or his wife studied in the University of Saskatchewan, and they went here together. He worked as a food service supervisor in one of the sandwich franchise chains here in Canada. So you see, you've got here a lawyer who became a sandwich artist here in Canada. And I have very high respect for him. You know why? Because he sees the bigger picture. That the reason why he went into becoming a food service supervisor in a sandwich establishment is that is their ticket to become permanent resident here in Canada. Once you become a permanent resident, then he can upgrade. He can study law, right? So again, don't rush everything. Wait to be settled. Okay. And there are cases like you have to take survival job as well, right? You might be an engineer. Sometimes we see just a few days ago I saw a doctor who became a caregiver here in Canada, and he's doing so because that's the best way to become a permanent resident based on his case. Because doctors here, you need to go through a different process as well. But once you again, it doesn't mean you're dropping your dream, right? You have to look at the bigger picture, be a permanent resident, be a Canadian citizen, then go towards what you want to do in life later on.
Excellent recommendation and guidance, Jeric. Thank you very much. And yes, this is the way of all of immigrants. Start from scratch, but is making his own way through a goal, be a permanent resident, then a citizen. Thank you very much for your guidance. Okay, Jeric, we can start the engine and go direct to the point, like Canadians. Okay, Saskatchewan Provincial Nominee Program, SPNP. Okay, what is it?
Okay, so basically, I think this might be the first time that people may be hearing the SINP. Actually, it's called the SINP, or the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program. But in a nutshell, all provinces here in Canada have their own provincial nominee programs. So you've got the BCPNP, you've got the AINP, you've got the in Alberta, you've got SINP in Saskatchewan, you've got the Ontario PNP, and all provinces has their own provincial nominee program. So basically, the idea is that immigration is in Canada are being driven by either the federal government or the provincial government. So there are federal programs like the Federal Skilled Worker Program under the Express Entry Program. So that's a federal program. So SIP is one of the provincial nominee programs wherein the province itself, okay, devises the criteria for the kind of immigrants they want to be in their provinces. So each provinces prepare their own criteria to select who's the best immigrant to live in their own provinces. So what happens is that, again, the provinces provides the criteria, and once approved, the only role of the federal government is to check for inadmissibility. Inadmissibility in terms of criminal background or health inadmissibility. So let's talk about Saskatchewan, or the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program. Okay. So again, this is a provincial nominee program dedicated for those who wants to go to Canada. It's not different on how. Basically, it's the same way. It's the same process where other provincial nominee programs comes in. So that once you become nominated, you can apply for permanent residence later on. One thing that is unique with the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program is that it balances both the economic and family reunification criteria. How can I say this? For example, in the case of Saskatchewan, they provide, if you don't have a job offer here, there are specific categories where you can have higher points by having a close relative here in Saskatchewan. So for example, programs here with SINP can be divided into two major categories. The first category is an employment-driven programs, and the second category would be a non-employment category. What do you mean by an employment category? Okay, so we've got categories like Saskatchewan Experience or the International Skilled Worker category, but the main requirement of this program is to have a Saskatchewan employer to give you a job offer. So that's what I mean by an employer-driven application. So basically, in order to be nominated by Saskatchewan in these categories that requires employer, obviously you will need to have a job offer first from a Saskatchewan employer. Now, what's unique with SINP is that Saskatchewan is the only province outside Quebec, except Quebec, which has its own law to control or to regulate immigration consultants and employers of foreign workers. So in the case of Saskatchewan, it's not like you found a job, it's not like you found an employer, then they write a job offer letter and it's done. No, the process is the employer has to be registered first with SINP before they can hire a foreign worker. So it's easy that registration process is very easy because SINP just really wants to make sure that the company is legitimate and offers genuine job offer. So that's the only thing. Next would be once the employer is registered, then they go through a process of SINP job approval, which means if a restaurant, for example, would want to hire a cook, so the SINP government, the SINP people will have to evaluate whether they will approve that job, whether that restaurant can hire a cook. And this they will weigh based on, of course, economic factors or whether the employer has already applied for a lot of cooks. And based on my experience, it's really based on the the business case of hiring more cooks. And usually, there's no problem going through this process. Once you got an SINP job approval, then you can apply for your SINP nomination. Okay. The second main category of the SINP program would be a case where you don't have an employer to give you a job offer. Okay. Okay. So two cases, like the first one, you need an employer. The second one doesn't require an employer. And just like any immigration program, if you don't have a job offer, usually you are required with proof of funds. You need to show that you can afford to live here in Canada for a certain period to be able to really survive, because you're arriving here without a job anyway. So that's the reason why there's usually proof of funds. There are two categories under this program. The one would be the Saskatchewan Express Entry Program, and the second one would be the Occupations in Demand Program. Essentially, the program requirements are the same. The only difference really is being accepted to the Express Entry pool. So being accepted means you qualify under the Federal Skilled Worker Program or Canadian Experience Class Program. The reason why you want to go to Saskatchewan Express Entry is that if you qualify and you get nominated, you can become a permanent resident in less than 6 months. Okay, so that's the reason. Okay, and based on my experience, okay, I told you the difference. That essentially there's no difference other than being qualified with the Express Entry. Really, the main thing that you have to focus on is really to meet the language requirement. Okay, because the Saskatchewan Express Entry requires a minimum CLB requirement of CLB 7, or Canadian Language Board Index, or how they measure different tests like IELTS or CELPIP. They require CLB 7. So if you don't meet CLB 7, then you go to the Occupations in Demand category if you qualify with the rest of the requirements. But the difference is that it goes into the regular processing of permanent residence that can take about 19 to 24 months. Okay, so again, now this is one unique thing about these two programs under the categories where you don't need an employer. Okay. The chance of you becoming or meeting the required points is higher, or a lot higher, if you have a close relative here in Saskatchewan. Close relative means you've got a sibling, you've got a parent, you've got a child, or you've got a nephew, you've got an aunt or uncle here in Saskatchewan who will support your application. By having a close relative here in Saskatchewan, you automatically get 20 points. And usually you need about 60 points to qualify for the program. So when a client calls me, whether they qualify for SINP or not, my first question is, do you have a job offer here in Saskatchewan? Okay. If they have a job offer in Saskatchewan, most likely than not, if they have a 1-year experience with the job offer and would have post-secondary education, I don't need to compute. They will qualify. Okay. But if they don't have a job offer, the next question I would ask is, do they have a close relative here in Saskatchewan? Because again, if you've got a close relative, you have automatically 20 points. If you've got a job offer, you receive automatically 30 points. So somebody calling me to evaluate whether they qualify for SINP or not, I could find out in less than 5 minutes because of asking those two questions.
Okay, excellent. With this question, you can have the initial profile of the person. Okay, Jeric. Could be you already answered the following questions, but it's a shorter question. But the focus is for make the interviewers or the viewers of this video make absolutely clear of the information. Okay, the next question is, what is it for the Saskatchewan Provincial Nominee Program?
Okay. I think the first question or the first thing that an applicant would need to find out is what are his options. I don't want you to be tied with Saskatchewan or SINP. I think the first question is what are the programs in Canada right now where you will qualify? If you will qualify with three, then your next goal is really to choose amongst the three. Because I don't want you, there are different programs where an applicant is stronger because you've got a better chance on this case rather than an SINP and vice versa. So I think that's where the value of immigration consultants like us come in because we are more familiar with different programs here in Canada. We are not limited to telling you, let's just do SINP. For all you know, you might not qualify with SINP, but you might qualify better with a job offer in the Atlantic provinces or a job offer in Manitoba because your relatives are in Manitoba. So I think that's the first thing that applicants will need to think about is what are my options? Okay, if you have SINP as part of your option, SINP is exciting in a way, uh, exciting in a way because processing time here in Saskatchewan is a lot shorter compared to different provinces. Well, my record in the last few years is that we got a nomination in I think in 2 days. It doesn't happen all the time. There are, the average processing time as we speak right now is about 5 weeks. Compare that with Alberta or the BCPNP, their average processing time is somewhere around 3 to 4 months. In Saskatchewan, you're looking at 5 weeks. Normally, I expect them to be decided in 2 or 3 weeks if done properly. So that's number one. That's number one advantage. Number two is that it's less restrictive. You know, in the case of Alberta, for example, if you're on a work permit and the work permit expires, then that affects your Alberta nomination as well if you're not able to renew. In Saskatchewan, if your work permit expires and you don't have a choice to extend it, you can just go home and wait for that nomination to come in. So it doesn't get canceled. So that's the advantage. Again, you have to go through within the context of your own profile as an applicant because it might be also a case like, for example, if you've got more relatives in Manitoba, then you might be better off going to Manitoba. So at the end of the day, people go to Saskatchewan or go for SINP because of number one, it's a shorter processing time. Number two, and I don't know, I can't speak with all provincial nomination experience, but what I feel with the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program is that SINP listens more to the applicant. There are cases like we get refused on an SINP job approval with then we just call the officer and explain the situation better, and they usually overturn this decision. So they listen to applicants more. So that's why I really like doing SINP.
Excellent. It's I could be said it's too fast. You know, it's a couple of weeks. Is very very nice. It's quickly, no? It's a very good program for in the timeline, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to clarify, Blake, sorry to cut you off there. And just to clarify, this is by the time you submit your nomination with an SINP job approval. The SINP job approval may take about 2 or 3 months, but once you submit your SINP nomination, yeah, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks, or it's not impossible.
Excellent. It's very good. Okay, Jeric, the next question is, what is the eligibility requirements? For whom does it apply and for whom does not?
Okay. Well, in terms of eligibility, there are a lot of factors. In general, SINP looks into whether you've got a job offer or not. So for those employer-driven programs like the Saskatchewan Experience category or the International Skilled Worker program category of Saskatchewan, of the SINP, you will need to have an employer to be able to qualify. But aside from having an employer, you will need at least to have at least, if you're already working in Saskatchewan, you will need to be working here for about a minimum of 6 months. But if you haven't worked here in Saskatchewan, you will need an experience of at least 1 year on the job offer being given to you. Bottom line, you will need to have experience to the job offer being asked. Right? In the case of those categories where you don't need an employer, the key thing again is you need to meet the required points of 60, and you can meet this based on your work experience, language scores, age, a connection here in Saskatchewan, whether you studied here in Saskatchewan or whether you've got relatives here in Saskatchewan, and of course you have to meet the proof of funds required. So it's a lot of things to cover in today's discussion. But the main thing that I usually ask my clients is whether they have at least 1 year experience with the job being offered to them. That would be in the case of those who doesn't have Saskatchewan experience. And if they, for example, again, here are my shortcuts. If a person says, okay, I've got a job offer as a cook, but I didn't finish high school. If they didn't finish high school, I don't need to compute. They would need at least a minimum work experience of about 3 years in order to meet the 60 points. And that is really based on experience. That if you're looking at the average scores that they get from their language exam, and usually the age is not a problem. Based on my calculation, I don't need to make specific calculations. If they tell me I'm just a high school graduate, that's fine as long as you have 3 years work experience. So that's the experience they don't see on the websites, right? So those are the main reasons why sometimes it's easier to deal with immigration consultants like us because of the experience.
Okay. Jeric, and again, thank you very much for staying with us. Jeric, what is the duties, obligation, and rights and benefits to apply in this way?
Okay. Well, obviously the benefits, it's like really it's a faster processing time for those who want, relatively speaking. If we're comparing in terms of processing time of different provincial nominee programs, SINP would be one of the fastest, if not the fastest, process to become a permanent resident. So that's number one. But in terms of duties and responsibilities, well, a part of the application is really a declaration to settle in Saskatchewan. Now, of course, this is a gray area in the immigration consulting profession or Canadian immigration because, in general, because of the charter rights of Canadians and permanent residents, we have mobility rights. Like we can transfer from a different province anytime we want if we're a permanent resident or a Canadian citizen. But of course, in our application, we also attested that they have to settle here in Saskatchewan. Right now, it's not happening yet. We know that a lot of provincial nominees, anywhere, not only in Saskatchewan, some provincial nominees are moving out of their provinces for a lot of reasons, and the government can keep track of them. I think they can track them based on the tax declarations, because in the tax declarations, they will see whether you're living in Saskatchewan or you're living in BC too, right? So, but they don't have any. They're not moving on it. So, again, to me, it's more of a moral obligation to be in Saskatchewan, right? Because it's a province. It's a province that supported your permanent residence here in Canada. So to me, it's a moral obligation to at least try to stay here and be part of growing the community. So to me, that's one of the duties of being a provincial nominee.
Okay, excellent. Okay, and Jeric, in your opinion and your experience, Why choose this program and another, not another?
Again, it all boils down whether this program would be the best way for you to become a permanent resident or here in Canada. Again, as I mentioned a while ago, you have to look at your options. And amongst those options, weigh them in terms of one, whether you're qualified or not, and two, whether it's faster or not. So I think that's the only thing. So as I mentioned a while ago, I like SINP better because number one, it's faster, and number two, it's easier to deal with the SINP uh, uh, government.
Okay, excellent. And Jeric, in this moment, the microphone is open for you. What is your additional comments about the SPNP?
Okay. Uh, to me, I think being an immigration consultant, Blake, I've seen a lot of cases where people do it themselves, do their applications themselves, right? And there are those people who rely on immigration consultants like us. There's nothing right or wrong with any of those options. But to me, an applicant needs to carefully weigh whether uh, whatever they do in their application is reversible or not. What do you mean by reversible or not? I'll share you something. I like being a carpenter. You know, I built my own. I built my own deck just by watching YouTube, just by watching YouTube. And the reason for that is if I make a mistake, I can easily dismantle wood and put it back together again. But when I built my driveway, which is made of cement, I hired a professional to do it because I know once the cement solidifies, any mistake I make, I cannot change anymore. I can probably get it rebuilt again, but it would be a lot of things to do, right, to fix it. So for me, I might sound biased, but to me, if being in Canada is something that you look at it is in a point of view of really how important for you is this application, right? If it's not important to you, then go for it. If you make a mistake, you're done, you move on, right? But if it's very important for you, you ask for professional help because you only spend once. And once you do it right, the rest is eternity, right? It changes not only your lives, but it changes the generations after you. So get professional help if you can.
Okay, excellent. Jeric and general public and members of a grateful community, we already and always said that we recommend use the professional service because sometimes that you, Jeric, tell us, sometimes when you can make a little mistake and you can damage all the process. It's better spend time and resources with a professionals because you have the support and professionals has a license. In that way, he them is compromised with the process. He spend all the experience and all the knowledge for your process, for your application, and personally, I recommend choose whatever professional, whatever you want, but it's important spend time and spend resources with good guidance, good services, and good advices. Okay, Jeric, please tell us about your company, your products and service, and the exclusive benefit that you are willing to offer to the members of the Grateful Migrant Collaborative Community.
Okay. Thank you, Blake, for this opportunity. So, for those who have just started viewing us right now, uh, I am Jeric Mendoza. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant of J. Mendoza and Associates Canada Immigration Consulting Group. I know it's long, but you can just easily visit our website, which can be my first name and my last name, jericmendoza.com, or you go to jmendoza.immigration.com. Those two websites just go to the same website. So sometimes it's easier to remember through my name, jericmendoza.com, or jmendoza.immigration.com. Okay, so basically what we do is we process anything related to Canadian immigration, whether you're in Canada or whether you're outside Canada. You can be in Colombia, you can be in Dubai, you can be in the Philippines, you can be in India or China. We can process your applications. Most of the applications are done online, so we can easily do that with, of course, with the internet. And for those that require paper applications, basically you're just a courier away using UPS, DHL, right? So everything is easy. So what we do is we help clients to visit Canada, to become international students, or to apply for permanent residence, or what they call landed immigrants here in Canada. So there are different programs here in Canada, from the BCPNP, or the British Columbia Provincial Nominee Program, to the Atlantic Immigration Program, to the new Caregiver Pilot Program, or the SINP program. We cover all those bases. The only thing that we cannot do related to immigration would be Quebec immigration, but we've got a partner whom we are dealing with Quebec applications. So we can be your one-stop shop to see, as I told a while ago, it's best to look into all your options. And that's the advantage of going through us. You don't need to know all of those programs, because we can help you identify if you qualify with one or two or three programs, and decide which program to do. So again, if you want to immigrate here in Canada as a permanent resident, or if you want to be here as an international student, or if you want to apply for work permit, if your application gets refused, we also have very good experience of getting them overturned, okay, getting them approved again. The only thing that we can't do would be really Quebec immigration, and if your case goes into the Canadian court.
And Jeric, please tell us about the benefit, the exclusive benefit that you are willing to offer us. Please,
Okay.
thank you.
Blake, as I told you, your organization is close to my heart, because I am as well an immigrant, okay? And you basically have the core value that I value as well, which is being thankful, or being grateful for what we have. So if your viewers, if your viewer is a member of the Thankful Migrant community, if they call us, please identify yourselves. If you're a member, then we can offer you something, whether it's a free gift, whether it's a discount. But my commitment is, if you call at least in the next 3 months, or this year, 2020, we will offer you something. But again, that's secondary, discount is secondary. What we can offer you really is a best option to go to Canada. But we will have a little bonus for you. Just let us know whether you're a member of the Thankful Migrant community.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jerry, for your advices, guidance, and your professional service through this interview. We really appreciate your advices. Jeric Mendoza, a grateful migrant, successful history.
Thank you very much. Gracias, Blake, and good day to you.
Okay, gracias, amigo.
Okay, bye now.
Yeah. And you, our viewer friend, send us your question and general interest to the community, and or if you consider that you are also a successful case of grateful migrant with a professional domain in a knowledge area of great interest to the collaborative community, or you know someone who is considered it and want to be interviewed by us, we thank you for letting us know by writing to info@migranteagradecido.com. Subject interview request with your justification of why you are applying and contact details. We will be very happy to show the world more cases for successful like yours. Thank you very much for joining us. If you are liking this video, we thank you for linking it. Subscribe to the channel to access more resources of great interest and activate the bell to be the first to know our exclusive digital content. Send us your valuable comments by email and share us on your social networks with hashtag Soy Migrante Agradecido. My name is Blake Turner and I wish you blessings all of your audience and each of your homes. Until next time, take care.